Hello, everybody and anybody. Welcome back to Reese Guitar. Oh, just kidding, it's Guitar Reese, because I'm the guitar, this is the Reese, and together we make Guitar Reese. If you're new here, please go ahead and like and subscribe. It really helps support. And if you're old here, please also like. All right, I shan't mince too many words. So, in pursuit of the great mystery of music, one might ask good questions, and one should ask good questions. And one such good question came across one of my videos recently. I'll put it on screen here. It's from McNoodle28, which is kind of a cool name. Could you talk about scales and the thought process behind this? I'm at the stage of trying to improvise and move around scale shapes and not just sounding like I'm playing scales or standard licks. Classic problem, and a problem that I know all too well, right? And it sounds to me like a problem of, so I know how to play, I kind of know what to play, but like what should I play, right? How do you make it sound good? How do you make it sound different to the norm? All right. So for me, this is a philosophical question. So we'll see how we go. I guess the too long didn't read answer I'll flash on screen right now. It's literally to play any notes you want because nothing's off limits. And if you think it sounds good, then go for it. But obviously that's not satisfactory, and I totally understand. So we're gonna get detailed. Alright, so the first thing I want to talk about is popular music. And this isn't to say that you should gear yourself to popular music, but you can kind of eliminate this from your thinking, and I think it helps to clarify things. So just briefly, right? If we're talking about music that's popular amongst many people, we're talking about a bunch of people that are somewhat different, all fairly different, all finding something they like in a particular piece of music, right? Or else it wouldn't be popular. But what that sounds like to me is something like a Venn diagram. So if you don't know what a Venn diagram is, I'll put one on screen right now. And what you should be seeing is, a few different people that have a shared circle in the middle, a shared area in the middle. And you can think of this as like three different people from around the world, right, who all hear a song online that they like. So there must be something they all like about it. So the more popular a song is, the more it appeals to the more people, the more it, in my opinion, must be a sound that we're disposed to liking for whatever reason. Like, we're at a certain stage of our evolution. Maybe we share something biologically similar. Maybe we share something spiritually similar for those out there. Whatever it is, though, we must share it for the music to be popular. So the thing with popular music, though, is it's often this very problem that McNoodle's talking about. It's standard licks. It can be quite plain. It's not horrible, right? It's enjoyable. Usually the stranger things, the more interesting things, are not that popular. Fine. Alright, so it occurs to me that there's two things going on in a question like this. The first thing is something like having the right tools to be able to choose what to play. If you think of this like language, this is like knowing how many words there are, knowing what words you can possibly use, right? For guitar, for music, this is going to be something like knowing all the notes, knowing the combinations of the notes, knowing arpeggios, triads, chords, and extensions. Because how can you say a sentence? How can you say anything interesting if you don't know the words? You can do it accidentally, maybe, right? You can do it by ear. It's fine. But, so the first half is going to be knowing the technical. So the other half of this is how to express yourself once you have the tools, right? And how to express yourself in ways that are unique and interesting. And I would say the first thing that you have to realize about yourself is that you, by your very nature, are different. Even in that Venn diagram, you're like at least one tick, or at least 0.001% different to anybody else, right? And so when you have the same tools as somebody, you're going to do something different by accident. All right. So this might sound cheesy, and it might even sound a bit easy for some people, and it is a bit easy once you get used to it. But consider the question, right? How do I say something that is me? How do I say something that's unique? Because I think in some ways that can be the only way you can say something unique. Well, you have to think about your goal. How do you say a sentence in a way that's unique for you? Any sentence you say, if I go to describe watermelons to you, Is it likely I'll use the exact same words you'd use to describe watermelons? Maybe not. Get a sentence in your head where you're selling watermelons to a friend, and I'm going to sell you a watermelon right now. Okay. This watermelon is very, very juicy. It's big. It's thick. It's red inside. I don't like seeds. This one's seedless, actually, and it's so delicious. This one tastes like an ice cold beer on a summer's day, but with watermelon in it too. So, all right. So you may have used a bunch of similar words in there if you're thinking of a sentence, but by whatever small degree of difference, unless you're quoting or covering something, I kind of can't help but say something on my own, right? And so this is just the first thing to realize about expressing yourself in a unique way, is actually it's somewhat inescapable. Even if you're quoting someone, you're doing it in your voice. Even if you're covering someone, it's your fingers on the fretboard. There's going to be small dynamic differences. But ultimately, the only way to do something completely unique as yourself is going to be, well, in my opinion, is going to be to write your own song with the fresh tools. And so that's the first step that I would encourage you to do, is start writing your own songs. Just a quick story from my childhood about my dad. I remember he used to say to me, I once said to him when I was like 10, I said, like, how do I get girls to notice me, Dad? Like, how to get them to be interested in me? And I remember, and you might have heard this yourself, right? Adults say this stuff all the time. I say it to my kid. I say, just be yourself. And I didn't know what that meant at the time. I instantly thought, like, well, I want to be something cooler than me. I don't want to, what do you mean be myself? I've been being myself. You know, that's why I'm asking for advice. What are you talking about? But being yourself really is realizing in the journey, right? Like, you start lifting weights because you want to look muscly, you want to look attractive, and then you realize along the way that it's about loving the gym grind. Or you see these crazy guitarists online, you start learning guitar, right? And you realize along the way that what you love is the mystery in writing songs. And then it's funny, then it just happens, right? This is what everyone says, you know. Like, I didn't start this to pursue views, but now I get views because my own stuff is interesting, because I've made it interesting. I've found what's interesting about me and my music and myself. So start doing things and realizing that yourself will be in it. It's going to sound standard to you. It's going to sound like scales, but it is going to be different to everybody else when they hear it. All right, so here's some tips on how to spice things up, and I think the sad news is that it's not going to come as much of a surprise. So there's some standard stuff you can learn, right? You can learn the blues, and this is how you break out of the scales, by the way. So, you know, your regular scale shape is going to be, but a note that's not meant to be in there is the blues note. An example for example in blues, or so. Mixed with the pentatonic, it makes even more sense. Right, so I'll just do it without it, and then I'll just do it with it. Okay, so that changes it in a small way, and that's just like a pentatonic note. There's jazzy sounding things, there's chromatic things, right? And so the idea would be that you write a song. What I would do is I'd start with writing a song with some very basic chords, and then see if you can change a note somewhere. One of my favorite note changes that I've had recently, it's been in all my songs, is to replace one of the minor chords in the key, the fifth chord maybe in the minor scale, with a major chord, and it gives you that Spanishy effect. It's in my last song. Yes, so the last song is on the key of A minor, and it's meant to have an E minor in it. But if you make it an E major, then you suddenly get the turnaround. And then the turnaround chord. So that's another thing you learn, and you can try to replace some of the chords in the key with major chords. Another you can do it in sweeping. right? Because that's an out of key chord. So, just to say, you can learn some standard things that are different. I'd recommend blues scale, blues note, harmonic scale, harmonic minor, I should say. Jazz. Geez, I tell you what, I'm just starting to do jazz, and that's difficult. Chromatic. But pretty much, you can if you are whistling a tune through, you're thinking of a tune, you're trying to play it, just chuck a note in where it sounds right. Yeah. And that'll help you to break out of the scales, I hope. And try writing a song that includes that different note at each spot. And start with one of like the blues. Okay, in fact, what I'll do is I'll play 4 chords and I'll change a note on purpose, right? So minor, A minor, F. Then we do A major. So. Okay. So learning some of the strange standards will help. Just literally trying to change notes to whatever you think sounds cool will help. And then finally, learning covers. That's painful. I don't learn much covers anymore because I sort of have gotten to the theory stage where it's easier to write songs than just to learn covers, and I'm enjoying doing that more. But learning how other people say a sentence, right, by learning a cover song, learning another cool way to say it, you'll pick up the cool parts. There's a classic Rick Beato tip where he says, he's got all these guests. I saw a montage recently, and they're all talking about learning Bach, learning classical guitar things. And I went to learn some Bach. What did I learn? Just by learning someone else's songs, you'll pick up some of the patterns from it, and there's new stuff in there, fresh stuff to play with. And remember, an instrument is like a bad analogy for a voice. It's not like a better voice, right? It sounds, but you don't have words. So to get meaning across, you are having to ditch the meaning in a big way. So something I've found that helped a lot is talking less in my general life, and I've actually found it quite hard to come back from a little bit in social situations. But the less I talk and the more I play guitar, the more, and it sounds silly to say, but the more I think in guitar, like think in notes rather than think in words, like or think in feelings. Yeah, trying to get more in touch with your emotional side. This sounds like a cheesy one, only because I'm not much of an emotional guy outside of this, but something I found is if you are practicing chords over and over and let your emotions guide you, that's going to be easier once you've become as fluent as possible with guitar to let that happen. But sometimes I'll literally think of sad things, so I feel sad when I write a song, and then it's funny, I've gone back and listened to those songs and they make me feel sad. I don't know how. And there's no wrong answer, right? Like if you're trying to sound cool and you're trying to sound complicated, or you like crazy beats and you're doing that deliberately, that's not bad either. Like try and make it something weird and cool. Okay, now just briefly I want to talk about some of the funny sayings that mean way more to me than they used to now, that contain better meaning for the stuff than it seems like. So first one is don't do it for others. The songs that I have done where I've thought, I'm going to try and get views with these, weirdly just inevitably fail. The ones that always do the best are the ones where I'm like, I'm going to write a song that I love. And I do, and I write it through, and then I put it online, and you strangers love it too. And so and that's good. I love that. And that last song's a real great example of that. I'm like trying to get my mind mapping arpeggios in a really big way. I'm going to do a video on arpeggios at some point. I keep saying that. And so that last video, it wasn't deliberately complex, but it ended up complex because when you're weaving arpeggios, all the notes are flowing and they're all combining, and you really got to make good use of it. And like I say, people seem to like it. It's a bit of a mishmash, right? You listen to it enough, it's a bit of a mishmash. Definitely learn theory. I'll do a theory video. Let me know if you want some theory stuff. I think it helps. I hope some stuff in this video has helped. Try to make your guitar an extension of your body. This is a funny saying, but it's true. The more you're playing with your guitar, the more you're doing stuff, the more you're thinking about it, the more you're focusing on it, the more you're going to bleed through into it. And the more you're going to be comfy. Here's a really great exercise that I keep forgetting to mention. And that is mimicking with your voice. Take the notes and mimic them. Mimic them. Boom, 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 boom. That's going to put you in sync with your guitar. And seriously, just do that. And the more you train yourself to do that, to be saying the same notes as a guitar, the more your brain thinks of guitar notes in advance. Seriously, that exercise is so funny. I would do that as much as possible. I'd do that like half an hour. Well, even if, I don't know how long you're practicing for, but I would put like a good 15-minute chunk into trying to mimic the notes. And it's so funny because at first it's quite hard. And then eventually it just happens. That's a really good tool. All right. And the final thing is to think of your guitar as your voice. It's not as dynamic, but you really want it to be coming out as though you're singing it. Alright, so in summary, learn as many techniques as you can, many varied techniques as you can. Realize they're always going to sound boring and the same to you. They're going to sound standard to you. And try to do as much of being yourself, because the only source of uniqueness is going to be you at the end. If there's anything unique in my songs, it's because I've given up trying to play songs like somebody else. Although you can take tools from them, although you can cover them, realize that even your covers contain you. And that you have the power. All right, please like and subscribe and let me know in the comments if there's anything else you want to see me have a rant about. I appreciate you. Thanks, guys. Bye.